Well, what's happening is we are indeed finding out what some certain clauses of Obamacare mean. Obamacare is about a 920-page document, I believe, and there's 3 paragraphs in there, buried in the document, about something called a credible allegation of fraud. And, of course, who determines what's credible? The government. Mm-hmm. And they can use that credible allegation of fraud to go into a provider and just shut down all their Medicaid payments. And that's happened to a lot of dentists. TDMR, my organization, has hundreds of members, and a lot of them have been shut down, and a lot of them are afraid of being shut down.
Now, many would agree that, okay, we've got fraud in the entitlement programs, and we need to do more to weed out fraud, and so we need to make sure that the money is going to those that truly need it. That's one thing, but correct me if I'm wrong, the dollars that you're talking about are for services that have already been provided.
That's correct. Not only have they already been provided, they were already authorized by the government. You can go ahead.
Oh,
yeah, it's astonishing. So what had happened was the providers were trying to gain clarification on what services did and didn't qualify for Medicaid, and they kept getting referred by the government back to, well, if we approve it, then it's okay. As long as we approve it, it's okay. And they filled out all the documents and all these long, detailed clinical forms in good faith, and they provided it to the government. The government approved the services. We're talking mostly about braces on kids' teeth. They approved these services, and then now the government's coming back and say, oh, no, that was all wrong. We want money back for the last 6 years or 8 years. They'll come to a provider and say, we want $10 million or $12 million. And not only that, before they've even done that, they have that provider on payment hold. And if that provider is a majority Medicaid provider, if 60 or 70 or 80% of their practice is Medicaid, their cash flow dries up, they'll go bankrupt in 6 to 8 weeks. They'll never see a trial. They'll never see any kind of administrative hearing. They'll never get their day in court because they're already bankrupt. They're already finished.
And when you talk about the government coming back in after the fact and saying, oh, by the way, hold up, you're not going to get that money, or we want that money back, are you talking about state or federal?
In this case, it's been pretty much entirely the state of Texas, the Office of the Inspector General for the Health and Human Services Commission in Texas, which oversees Medicaid in Texas.
And that's one of the complex arguments about Obamacare and the potential implications, where in the grand scheme of things, liberals tout the fact that it's going to bring so many more people in that don't have health care that are now going to move in and are going to have it and be covered under Medicaid, this great Medicaid expansion. But are we seeing one of the negative parts of that on the other side of the coin is that because of these and things like it, you're seeing more dentists and others in the healthcare field say, well, on second thought, we're going to stop, we won't take Medicaid patients then.
Absolutely. And one of the incredible ironies of this is that the reason why the state the state actually encouraged this. A lot of these providers that are now being destroyed, they were rounded up into Medicaid. The state came to them begging them to take Medicaid patients, trying to increase payments, make it more attractive to them. They asked them to join the Medicaid program. Now they're going back and we're talking about lives are getting destroyed. I mean, we got a provider out in West Texas, Paul Dunn. He's an old country doctor. He's been filling out this documentation and working under the Medicaid system for, his father was doing it in the 70s. I mean, he's been doing this. That's the community that he services. And they came to him. They came to him with credible allegations of fraud. They put him on payment hold. He's basically completely bankrupt. He's had to lay off 10 employees now. And here's the incredible thing about Paul Dunn. They came to him and said, well, you know what? We don't think you even committed fraud. We don't think you committed fraud, but we think you were in error here, and here. We want $1.2 million of our money back. And here's what Paul Dunn has to say. I'm 66 years old, and if I sold everything I own, including my life insurance, I couldn't come up with $1.2 million.